Hi everyone, my name is Sylvia, and if you're new here, I like to cover true crime, mostly unsolved stories. If you want more videos about unsolved murders, missing persons cases, and the like, please hit that subscribe button down below. If you didn't know, we're currently in the middle of Hispanic Heritage Month, so I thought I'd cover a case that reflected that. Violence against Hispanic people, like all non-white people, is often overlooked by the justice system, and I wanted to shed light on a story that specifically affected the Latino community. So today I'm telling you the unsolved mystery of the West Mesa Bone Collector. This is about a serial killer who still hasn't been caught. I'm sickened yet curious. Let's learn more. My neighbors like to play mariachi music really loud in the afternoons, and I usually record before they start playing their music, but I got caught up doing some other things, so I hope that it's not in the background. Hopefully. This case starts in February 2009 when a woman is innocently walking her dog on the West Mesa Plain. This is a few miles west of Albuquerque, New Mexico. And this is a very sparse, open area, so she lets her dog off the leash so he can get some of his energy out, and he runs around, but this dog comes back to her with something interesting in his mouth. It's a human femur bone. She calls the police, and they come out to excavate the area. And they found the bones of multiple women. This was a mass grave site. They found the bodies of a total of 11 women and one fetus, meaning that one woman was pregnant. All of these women were between the ages of 15 and 32. They also were all known prostitutes or drug users. They had gone missing between 2001 and 2005, which was 4 years before these bodies were found in 2009. 22-year-old Michelle Valdez had been 4 months pregnant at the time of her disappearance. Immediately, the police knew that this was the work of a serial killer, and they ruled each woman's death a homicide. And many of the victims, because of their lifestyles, hadn't even been reported missing, and I think that the killer actually used this knowledge to his advantage. That's why he chose this victim pool, was because if they disappeared, nobody would really be looking for them. You know, locating prostitutes and drug users isn't really a priority to the police. It's really sad. It's just not. And that matter is made even worse when it's Hispanic or Black women. I mean, you can just look at the wording that articles use when women who engage in prostitution are found dead. You would never see a headline that was like, an accountant was found dead in a ditch yesterday. Even though police officers weren't aware that this marginalized community had missing persons, there was one officer who was. She was a female police officer named Ida who actually worked in Vice. So she had spent time on the streets pretending to be a prostitute so that she could arrest men who were trying to solicit prostitution. She had a growing list of a total of 16 girls who had gone missing. She thought that this was a potential serial killer case, and she gave this to the homicide team, yet they did nothing about it. A lot of these women frequented the East Central Corridor. This is a sketchy and crime-ridden area in the already low-income area of West Mesa. Now, I don't have time to discuss each victim, but I did want to shine light on the one that was pregnant, which was Michelle Valdez. She was a teenager who started to rebel against her parents pretty hard. At age 13, Michelle became pregnant with her first child. And she tries to be a mom at first, but then the baby ends up having to live with her parents, aka the baby's grandparents. And Michelle starts to join a shadier crowd. Michelle is having a lot of problems with drugs, and she's taken in by the West Mesa police multiple times. Her parents are trying to support her, but, you know, loving somebody who's a drug addict is extremely stressful, and they bring themselves to kick her out of the home. They say that she can come back to live with them if she becomes clean, but of course this is an ongoing battle, and she is not able to do that. So Michelle moves out. They don't really know where she's staying, and Michelle's dad actually starts keeping a calendar of when he sees and hears from her. Michelle's dad actually starts marking his calendar with an X for the days that he doesn't see or hear from her, and then with a circle for the days that he does. He notices that on this calendar, these days of X's are turning into a never-ending string. In 2004, the X's just keep adding up, and eventually 5 months go by where he hasn't heard from his daughter at all. In fact, no one has. And it's in February 2005 that he decides to file a police report. I wanted to add that Ida, the vice officer who noticed these missing women, was promoted to a detective eventually, and she is really the only person on the force that is concerned with Michelle's disappearance. Like I said, these are almost all Latina women. One of the victims was black. They were just disappearing at this point. There were no bodies. So it's sad that this isn't taken seriously until 4 years later when 11 women are found in the West Mesa desert. Once these bodies were recovered, the media and the people of West Mesa are obviously shook. They start calling the serial killer the West Mesa Bone Collector. And we gotta stop giving serial killers cool names, guys. Give them a dumb name. Call him like the West Mesa Dildo Collector, which kind of has the same meaning. Like I said, Ida's list is longer than the 11 women who were found, and one of the ones who wasn't found was Nina Herman. Her case is still unsolved, and the Herman family actually hired a private investigator to look into her disappearance in 2010. This private investigator actually got several phone calls and emails from somebody who was claiming to be the West Mesa Bone Collector. I don't think that these phone calls or emails were ever traced back to a source, and it's not fully proven that this person is who it was, but he does say that he knows Nina and he knows what happened to her. One of these phone calls the private investigator is able to record, and I'm actually going to play that for you now.
I know Nina. I know who killed her, and I know who did it. And I know why. Okay, bye.
The Albuquerque police made a statement saying that they would work tirelessly to solve this West Mesa serial killer case. However, it's 2021 and this serial killer still hasn't been caught. They didn't find any of the killer's DNA on the bones of the victims, and they also don't have a profile out for him. However, we do have a few suspects. And now this is where I'm going to include a trigger warning, because these are some nasty dudes who have done despicable things to their wives, underage women, and even some of their own family members. If you want to click out for your own mental health, that is completely fine. I'm just going to be going over the potential suspects in this case, none of whom have been charged with being the West Mesa serial killer. I think the biggest takeaway about this serial killer is that the murders seem to have stopped, and that indicates that he could have either moved out of state, gotten arrested and put in jail, or died. Our first suspect is Joseph Blee, who ended up on police radar almost immediately after they found the bones. This is because his first wife called within 7 days of them finding these bones, telling them that she thinks her husband could have been involved. Blee is currently serving a prison sentence for 4 SA-related attacks on middle school girls. He's faced multiple accusations over the course of his life, one of which was from a 14-year-old girl who said that he followed her home and attacked her, and then he would beat her every time she screamed during this attack. His DNA was found on a dead prostitute back in 1985. He was never charged in connection with this crime. The police have come across Blee's name a total of 130 times between the years 1990 and 2009 while they were investigating various crimes that happened in the East Central Corridor. Blee was sentenced in 2015. Some sources say that he's serving a 90-year sentence, and some people are saying that he's only serving a 40-year sentence. Either way, he was put in jail at the age of 54, so he's going to be spending the rest of his natural life in prison. His prison cellmate reported that Blee talks about the West Mesa murders a lot. He said that Blee said he knew a lot of the victims because he had hired them for sex. Okay, so Blee was sentenced to jail in 2015. So it's possible that he continued murdering people after this. He just had a different burial site. That would give him time to do the 2010 phone call to the private investigator. Again, that phone call wasn't traced back to anybody, so it's possible that it was just a prank call. Weird people like to do stuff like that, but it also, could have been believed because he wasn't in prison yet at this time. Our second suspect is Lorenzo Montoya, who had been caught hiring prostitutes and worse. In 1999, police officers found him strangling a prostitute in the back of his car. They found that he only had $2 in his wallet, so he clearly wasn't planning on paying this woman. Maybe it's because he planned on her being dead by the time he was done with her. All of Montoya's misdeeds came to a head in December 2006 when he hired an unnamed woman to come to his house for sex. Her boyfriend came to check on her and discovered Montoya loading her dead body into the back of his truck. The boyfriend shot and killed Montoya in self-defense and served no prison time. This woman's legs and wrists have been wrapped in duct tape. She also had several layers of duct tape wrapped around her neck, which they believed is what killed her. They found 2 homemade sex tapes in this creep's bedroom, both of which featured women who were not among the bodies found at West Mesa, but they've also never been identified, so it's possible that these are 2 other victims. And the police did not find any of the West Mesa victims' DNA in Montoya's home. The killings seem to have stopped after Montoya's death, but the duct tape thing doesn't really fit with his MO. Again, he was killed at the very end of 2006. Again though, Montoya was killed at the very end of 2006, and the last known West Mesa Bone Collector victim also went missing in 2006. So maybe he was loading this woman's body into his truck so he could go dump her at that burial site. So those are the 2 biggest suspects. There are others, but there was just less evidence for those. One of the other ones was this creepy guy who had been taking women at the Albuquerque Fair. They found several photos in his possession of sleeping women who are also unidentified. Scott Lee Kimball, who is a Colorado serial killer, has also been suspected of these crimes. However, he's serving a life sentence in prison, and he denied killing these women. It's possible that the West Mesa Bone Collector is walking around free, which is so creepy to think about. We really have no way of knowing. All we know is that 11 girls lost their lives at this person's hands. My heart goes out to the families of those poor girls who were found in the West Mesa plain. Maybe a confession or new evidence is going to shed light on this story and it can finally be solved and the families can get closure. As of right now, the story of the West Mesa Bone Collector is unsolved. Please like and subscribe to my channel. I do videos like these each week, so if this is something you're interested in, please support me by subscribing. Until next time, have a great day and stay safe. God, I just thought somebody was outside my window.